Welcome to a meeting of the Board of Education of Somerset Hills. Please be advised that this and all meetings of the board are open to the public and media consistent with the Open Public Meetings Act, and that advance notice required therein has been provided. This is a meeting of the Board of Education of Somerset Hills at which formal action may be taken. The public will have an opportunity to be heard as shown on the agenda. Okay, we can have roll call.
Mr. Baker, Mrs. Clark Emery, Ms. Cooper, here, Mrs. DeGrandpre, Mrs. Frenda, here, Mr. Joyce,
Here.
Ms. Nathans, here, Mrs. Tober, here, Mrs. Rye,
Here.
and Mrs. Santoro.
Here. Executive session. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act authorizes a public body to exclude the public from that portion of a meeting at which specified topics are to be discussed under circumstances where the public consideration of such topics will clearly endanger the public, or where the personal privacy or guaranteed rights of individuals whose activities or affairs are to be discussed would be clearly in danger of unwarranted invasions, and whereas the matters about to be presented for discussion clearly meet the circumstances test of such act. Resolved that the Board of Education of Somerset Hills now adjourns its public session to reconvene an executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel, student matters, contracts, negotiations, and litigation. If I can have a motion to move into executive, please. Okay. Nicole and Sam. Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Sorry about that. Welcome to a meeting of the Somerset Hills School District Board of Education. We have just come out of executive session, and if I could have everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Roll call, please.
Mr. Baker,
Here.
Mrs. Clark Emery, here, Ms. Cooper, here, Mrs. Frenda,
Here.
Mr. Joyce,
Here.
Ms. Nathans,
Here.
Mrs. Tober, here, Mrs. Rye,
Here.
and Mrs. Santoro.
Here. Okay, I'm so happy to see so many people here, and right now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Dempsey for the report of the superintendent.
Sounds good. I'm happy to see as many people here as well. I'm going to turn it over to your attorney, Jerlis Gutierrez, who's going to kick us off with a brief school law talks. I promise that all the people who are here from the high school to celebrate won't have to wait too long. Don't worry.
And I will just give everybody a brief update. What we've been doing with our school law talks is having our attorney present different ideas or different concepts that the board works under every month to try and help people understand some of board operations and how we work as a Board of Education.
So brief, right? No more than 3 hours. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit of knowledge. So tonight's topic is just a little overview of about the New Jersey Department of Education and their student learning standards. We're not going to go into depth of it because that will be 3 hours, and we're not spending 3 hours here on this. Okay, see, so fast, we went right to the end. Okay, so NJAC stands for New Jersey Administrative Code, which is, they are the regulations that are adopted by the Commissioner of Education under all of the laws that are related to education in the state of New Jersey. So that's what NJAC means. I forget that the rest of the world doesn't know that, but that's what that is. So the education standards are contained in New Jersey Administrative Code 6A:8, which is this handy dandy book that I have here. And I'm just going to read really briefly because that's kind of hard to read, but it's going to be on the website, so on the website you can expand it. The purpose of standards is to prepare students for college and career, success in life, and work in an economy driven by information, knowledge, and innovation, requires a public education system where teaching and learning are aligned with 21st century learning outcomes. The outcomes move beyond a focus on basic competency in core subjects and foster a deeper understanding of academic content at much higher levels by promoting critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity through the New Jersey Student Learning Standards that specify expectations in 9 academic content areas: English language arts, mathematics, visual and performing arts, comprehensive health and physical education, science, social studies, world languages, technology, and 21st century life and careers. And then the regulations go on and on and on for a while. But I wanted to give you a flavor of how that happens. You know, how we keep talking about standards as if they come from the moon. They don't. They come from the Department of Education. In 6A:8-2.1, tells us, 2.1a, the State Board of Education is responsible for establishing state educational goals and standards according to Public Law 1990, Chapter 52, Public Law 1991, Chapter 3, and Public Law 1991, Chapter 62. In June 2009, the State Board adopted revised core curriculum content standards and associated indicators and I'm just going to skip over a variety of different areas. And we fast forward, and then back in 2008, the State Board, on or before May 2008, initiated a review and readoption process for the core curriculum content standards and the preschool teaching and learning expectations standards of quality. The process will be repeated every 5 years thereafter, based on recommendations by the commissioner according to the following procedure, and then they have a whole procedure. So that's sort of like a very quick, brief history of education standards in New Jersey, which are now called the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. This page that you're seeing there is directly copied from the website of the Department of Education. I put the site at the bottom, nj.gov/education/standards. And these are the areas in which there are standards. I just read them before. I'm not going to repeat them. We know that there's been a lot of consternation, perhaps, and questions about the new comprehensive health and physical education standards. There was some commentary from the governor back in April asking that the standards be reviewed. And then also in April, the Education Commissioner released a memorandum clarifying the standards that were adopted by the State Board of Education. One of the issues that has been a topic here has been whether or not parents have the right to opt out of certain curriculum. And there is a law, NJSA is New Jersey Statutes Annotated, so those are that's the actual law, 18A:35-4.7, which gives parents the right, parents or guardians, they have the right to present to the school principal a signed statement that any part of the instructions in health, family life, education, or sex education, if it's in conflict with that parent's conscience or sincerely held moral or religious beliefs, the child can be excused from that portion of the course where the instruction is being given. That was really fast. And that's it. If the board has any questions for me later, I'm open to them, but a little bit of an overview. Okay, thank you.
All right. I know she's a tough act to follow, but I'm looking for those middle school reps. Are Clara and Milo here? There they are. Hi, guys. You can step right up. That gentleman's going to help you, and you're going to kick us off.
Hi, my name is Milo Consola Katsuna, and I run track. I'm a long distance runner, and I'm in 7th grade. With the near end of spring as we close into the beginning of summer, school suddenly became busier and full of life. Yesterday was the school-wide concert, as some of you may have gone to. We, the band, have been practicing our pieces, Salvation and the Avengers, since the beginning of the school year. It was a busy night as the event had overlapped with the track and field rotary. Everyone got to the Performing Arts Center and nervously waited until we were called up to the stage where we heard the orchestra still playing. When it was finally time, we filed onto the stage and played our best. The result was tremendous as the entire band played fluently from all the practice we had experienced. In preparation for the concert, we have had practices every week since October, 2 practices with the rest of the grade's band, and a rehearsal the day before the concert. Although I couldn't hear from the audience, from what I heard on stage, we were fabulous. I played trumpet on the band ensemble as well as on the jazz band. I've been playing trumpet since 4th grade, and I think I've improved every year. At the concert, I played the part of the trumpet with 4 other 7th graders and 2 8th graders. In the 7th and 8th grade part of the concert, all the trumpets in Salvation played the same B-flat trumpet part, and I played the 3rd B-flat trumpet part in Avengers. In the jazz part of the concert, I played the 3rd B-flat trumpet part in both The Way You Look Tonight and Moondance. As the year approaches the end, and as the seasons change into summer, we will look back to this year and see how different we are and how much we have improved. Now over to Clara.
Hi, my name is Clara Hunziker, and I'm a short distance runner on the BMS track team. I also play the trombone in jazz band and regular band. In track, we've had a few meets, and yesterday we had a special rotary meet hosting 9 teams at BHS. Some of the things we do in practice are long jogs, sprinting, hurdles, and shot put. Track can be good for helping with other sports too. Part of why I do track is to help with field hockey in the fall. School usually has great community service opportunities too. 6th to 8th graders need 10 hours of community service this year, and one recent community service opportunity was the organizing of donated items for the 11th hour animal rescue shelter, which was on May 6th. Students earned community service hours for donating food and items for the animals. When I went to the sorting, there were lots of food and toys for the animals to help them out. It was a great turnout of donations to help the animal shelter with over 1,000 items collected, and there was also a leaf cleanup after school there is a leaf cleanup after school on the 19th, hosted by the Green Team from 3 to 4. It's been a great year with lots of adapting back to school and new activities and opportunities.
Thank you both. How about Chris and you guys here? I know we missed you last month.
Hello, my name is Chris Sun.
And I'm Muriel Palanci.
We have some news from the high school. Boys lacrosse recently defeated Rutgers Prep 13-6 this past Saturday, and they're advancing to the semis, and their team record is 7-7. Girls lacrosse advanced in the SCIAA action with a 15-6 victory against Watchung Hills. Softball recently lost to Hillsborough in SCIAA action, but the group is heading on to state tournament, and we wish them good luck. The golf team recently defeated Rutgers Prep 180-196. Berners Tennis recently lost a closely contested match against Pingree, and they have just secured a win against Franklin 5-0. Their team record is currently 10-5. As you know, senior year is coming to an end. Well, the year is coming to an end for everyone, but seniors have some fun activities like the senior fashion show, which was on the 30th, where students got to dress up in outfits picked by certain stores, and all the students enjoyed it, and the parents did a great job organizing it. A little bit more about college was that the National Commitment Day was on May 1st, and most, if not all, the seniors who plan on going to college next year have already committed or are waiting for any waitlist action. We wish our fellow seniors congratulations and good luck on their future endeavors. The senior prom will be on June 2nd. The senior class officers did a great job organizing the event, and we wish to see everyone there having fun. The senior class officers recently painted our class mural in the bird hallway as well. If anyone happens to be in that hallway, please take a look. In terms of academics, the year is winding down. Kids that don't really have AP tests will do their finals, and kids with APs have been facing AP testing for the past week. We also have some very fun field trips for AP classes, such as for AP Physics, there's a field trip on May 13th to Six Flags, and for AP Statistics, there's a field trip on May 31st to the Bronx Zoo.
All right, and to regards to some of the extracurricular stuff that's been happening at our school, on April 28th, Bernard's Choir had Pops Night, and the student-selected theme this year was 2000s Pop, and everyone did a fantastic job, and I hope you guys could go see it. It was awesome. Madrigals will also be going to Hershey Park on the 20th to compete with other choirs, and the following week on the 27th, we're going to Rutgers for another competition, so wish us luck. And the Madrigals and concert, spring concert will be on the 24th, and it's an excellent opportunity to support BHS, and we hope that you guys can join us. We also recently held our student council election, so Lexi Schaefer was elected president, Trevor Sardis as vice president, Adi Raj as treasurer, Rebecca Silberman as recording secretary, and Jackie Silberman as corresponding secretary. And in regards to some other events that's been happening, on April 22nd, we had our junior prom, and from what I heard, it was fantastic. We're also holding the NJ SLOB testing next week, so there will be a delayed opening for sophomores and seniors through the 16th and 19th. And the most exciting news of the night, I think, is the Student Council organized Clash, and so it's a week-long event during lunch, and every day, grades will compete against each other throughout the week via challenges, and some of the events are water balloon toss, charades, tug of war, family feud, musical chairs, and on Friday, the biggest event is Capture the Flag After School. And while these events are happening, we'll also be doing spirit days like Pajama Day, Twin Day, Dress Like a Teacher Day, Throwback Thursday, and our newest theme, Anything But a Backpack Day. And to shout out some of our scholar athletes, Anna Damertowski and Drew Elliott were SCIA scholar athletes, and Emily Romano and Sean Honeywell were Skyline Conference scholar athletes. And that's all we have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. All right, so it's the moment that most of us have been waiting for. I so appreciate all our student speakers, and for those middle schoolers, you may be coming back next month when we honor you, but tonight is all about the high school. So I'm going to ask Dr. Nigel to come to the podium. He has graciously agreed to be the master of ceremonies, but I'm going to back him up as best I can.
Great, thank you, Dr. Dempsey. So we have a bunch of people to recognize tonight, so I'm going to keep it moving. First up, we have our National Merit Commended students. We have most of them here. A couple did not come and read everybody's name, and if they are here, I'm going to ask them just to come up and shake Dr. Dempsey's hand, and then I'll say where they're going to school. So first, Nikita Shalani. She wasn't able to make it tonight, but we do want to recognize her. We do have Anna Demertowski, who is attending Northwestern next year. Also here, Nina Markart, who's attending Barnard next year. We actually have a student who was a finalist this year who wasn't able to make it tonight, Armand Marostami. Congratulations. Here tonight, Sophie Naz, McGill University. Congratulations. Also here, Sarah Squadrito, attending University of Michigan. And you just heard from him, Chris Sun, attending the medical program at Case Western University. Also here, Catherine Walsh, attending Boston College. A round of applause for our National Merit Commended students. Next, I want to introduce Mr. Catelli and Mrs. Callahan to introduce the Voice of Democracy winners for this year.
Thank you, Dr. Nigel. Every year, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFW, hosts a national competition asking high schoolers to record speeches on an essential question to our country and our civic virtues. This year, students were tasked with speaking on the topic, America, where do we go from here? This nationwide competition is then organized by the local VFW chapters. I have the honor of working with VFW 7858 to bring this competition to our students. Our local vets, several of whom are graduates of our district, select the local winners and hand out cash prizes to our students. Tonight, we get to recognize these winners of our competition, but I must say that every year I'm impressed by the oratory skills and civic insight of all of our students in this competition. The success that these students have is due to the hard work of all of our teachers and our district for supporting this kind of competition, which encourages students to think and reflect on our fundamental American principles. Over the past several years, this competition has become an established tradition at Bernards High School, and because of this, we've developed a close relationship with the VFW. Our vets typically have the opportunity to visit the school in person and congratulate all of our winners. And every year they comment about how impressed they are by the delivery of the speeches, as well as the patriotism and optimism for our nation that our students display. One thing that they do ask me to point out as well is that all of these cash prizes that are handed out to the students is made possible by the poppy sales the vets do every year. So whenever you see the vets in our community selling poppies, those are funds that go back to our community and many times to our students. So thank you to them for their efforts to support our school in that way. I'd now like to welcome Ms. Angela Callahan, our public speaking and debate teacher, who helps coordinate the Voice of Democracy at BHS, and she's going to share some background on the competition and introduce the winners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Catelli. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. As Mr. Catelli gave you some background, I'll add just a little bit more. Since 1947, the Voice of Democracy has been the VFW's premier scholarship program. Each year, almost 40,000 high school students compete for more than $2 million in scholarships and incentives. Students compete by writing and recording an audio essay on an annual patriotic theme. They are judged on 3 criteria: originality, content, and delivery. This year, the students were challenged with a question: America, where do we go from here? This was the 7th consecutive year I used this contest as a formal speech assignment in my public speaking class. 6 students entered the contest and 3 emerged as winners. Our students addressed national issues they cared deeply about. They tailored their messages to their audience and delivered their manuscripts with confidence and conviction. For some, it was their favorite speech of the semester, and one student said, "It didn't really feel like we were in school completing a class assignment." I agreed. It was much more than that. We were impacted by the unique and passionate speeches. And on that day, in that time and space, we felt empowered. We felt unified. We felt freedom. I want to thank the 3 winners for participating with enthusiasm. Not only did they serve as outstanding representatives of our school district, they demonstrated the true power and importance of rhetoric and civic engagement in our great nation. I have every confidence they will keep using their voices in productive ways as their future unfolds. It is my great honor to introduce to you the recipients of this year's Outstanding Spokesperson for Freedom. Grade 9, Kevin Kerman. Grade 10, Maddie Weiss. And Grade 12, Peter Iosa. I invited, unfortunately, Peter and Kevin could not be here. Kevin sent me an email and asked me to share just a few words. He spoke in his essay about unity, and he felt that unity was something that we all wanted here in America, and he did admit that he was inherently anxious in conducting some of his speeches, but when it came to speaking in front of the audience for this particular speech, and I quote, "This is where I feel as though I hit my stride and was able to focus less on my individual mistakes that I'd made in the past, and more on the power of the words that were leaving me. The Voice of Democracy speech was a speech where our class got to free flow our opinions and really embrace our core values and opinions in an open forum with, in our case, the next generation of leaders. And I found it to be a truly eye-opening experience." At this time, I would like to invite Maddie Weiss to say a few words.
Good evening. I'm Maddie Weiss. I'm in 10th grade, and I have always loved to voice my opinions. That's why I'd love to give a huge thank you to Ms. Callahan for her public speaking class to give me a safe space where I can voice all my opinions in a productive way. My speech was about the necessity for abortion rights in the Constitution, and I find it ironically sad that this meeting takes place a week after the Supreme Court draft was leaked that the possibility of Roe v. Wade being overturned is probable. In my speech, I quoted Ruth Bader Ginsburg saying, "The decision whether or not to bear a child is central to a woman's life, to her well-being, and to her dignity." And I am so sad that her legacy is being forgotten. The majority of this country want to have pro-choice laws, and as John Dickinson said, united we fall, united we stand, divided we fall. So with that being said, I am so happy that my speech, my Voice of Democracy speech, was chosen to be one of the district winners, and I am so proud of my accomplishments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Callahan, Mr. Catelli, and congratulations, Maddie. Well done. Next up, we have the athletic department here, Mike Hoppy, who will start with Coach Minora and Coach Spouts and introduce the championship hockey team, and then we also have some individual accomplishments within wrestling and swimming. So, Mr. Hoppy.
Hi, thanks for having me. A couple of years ago, I'm sure most of you on the board are aware, we left the Skyland Conference in ice hockey, and we embarked on a new conference, the New Jersey Interscholastic Hockey League in Morris County. And Coach Daniel Spouts and Coach Paul Maynor, you guys come on up. They helped me organize it. Our hockey program was floundering a little bit, and I think I could carefully say we got a little bit lucky last year. We won the Charette Cup, and this year we were totally prepared, and we won it for the second time in a row. So it's like 20 years in between Cup championships. I'm going to turn it over to Daniel and Paul. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hoppy. I would also like to point out a couple of other accomplishments that the team had this year. First is by winning the championship, the league championship, it made us eligible for the New Jersey State High School tournament. It was the first time that a Burners team had qualified for that since 2012, and we actually beat a traditional powerhouse Brick in our first game, which is the first time we'd accomplished that since 2010. So a tremendous turnaround for the program. It's a healthy program. This past year, grew by 30% participants. We went from 25 to 33 participants. And what I would tell you about the Bernard students, because we are a co-op, the team works with Somerville and Middlesex high schools to draw players. Amongst the Bernard's players, all but one of them have been recognized as scholar athletes. So they're not just very good hockey players, they're very, very good students. There's 3 of them that are here that I'd like to recognize tonight, and I think you'll find that you may see something unique about them, since we do play in a boys ice hockey league. First is our backup goaltender, Kate Nikolai. Second is our starting goaltender and was voted second team All-Division, Balin Shankman. And one of our four graduating seniors, one of our captains, Miley Karifa. We did have 6 girls on the team this year, so. One last thing I'd like to do before I leave, I would like to thank the board for your continuing support. Hockey is not a cheap thing, and we truly, truly appreciate everything that you do for us, as well as Dr. Nagel. And I would absolutely want to recognize Mr. Hoppy's leadership. It was not an easy thing for us to leave the Skylands Conference. If we had stayed in the Skylands Conference, we would no longer have a hockey program, because kids were not willing to stay to lose. They now have a chance to compete, they have a chance to win, and the program's grown really well as a result of that. Lastly, I'd like to recognize my cohort, Dan Spouts. There's nobody more passionate about the kids, about their welfare, and about their well-being. He is a true treasure to have as a partner working with me on the hockey team.
Thank you, Coach Menor, Coach Spouts. I'd like to echo those sentiments. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, especially with Mr. Hoppy. Hockey is a tryout now, so trying to get the numbers up and trying to find the right fit. There's a lot of work that goes behind that, and you see what happens when there's success, right? Kids are excited, and you get a lot of people out, so that's great to see the hockey program thriving. Mike's going to come back up and introduce some individual accomplishments from this winter as well.
So one thing I'd like to add is that Paul is the head ice hockey coach. He's also our assistant golf coach. And Dan is our assistant ice hockey coach, but he's also our head golf coach. And they both work for us in the fall. Daniel's our 7th and 8th grade girls soccer coach, and Paul helps out the athletic department. So they're both active with us year round, so much appreciated. So I know Coach Suzuki's not here, and but I do want to recognize some of the student athletes that are here. And I want to say something real quick about Coach Suzuki. 34 years. He's the only swim coach we've ever had. So, 599 meets, not victories, but 34 years. He's been an absolute treasure, and he will be missed. And I have a bunch of things. There was a big article about him in the Burnsville News, and I know he's going to get his accolades in due time. So, first, I know that Ryan Schuler's here, and Ryan has a school record. Ryan, come on up. You can smile. So Ryan has a school record in the 100-yard backstroke, 52.98, and what's neat about that is that he qualified for the prestigious Meet of Champions, which is the best of the best in the entire state, down at Sewell, where was it? Yeah, it's South Jersey. I think it's past Sewell. And he broke the school record at that meet, swimming against the top competition in the state. So congratulations to Ryan. Job well. And I don't know, is Sammy Bender here? Sammy broke a school record, 24.66 in the 50-yard freestyle. And then Megan Robinson joined her brother on our record board with a 107.12 in the same event as her brother, the 100-yard breaststroke. So 3 school records this winter under Coach Suzuki's guidance, so pretty neat. All right, thank you. I have wrestling, right? Okay. So the next athlete I want to introduce, he was introduced earlier as a scholar athlete, Skyland scholar athlete, and that's Sean Honeywell. Sean? So Sean is a scholar athlete, pretty good soccer player on our state championship run soccer team, pretty good lacrosse player, and he was a district champion in wrestling. 3 sports star, great kid. Congratulations, job well done. And I think I'm turning it over to Miss Walker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next up is our Director of Guidance, Mrs. Jamie Walker, to introduce the unsung hero.
Good evening. Each year, the Somerset County School Boards Association, in conjunction with the New Jersey School Boards Association, recognizes a senior from each of the county's high schools. The honorees are our school's unsung heroes, students who make outstanding contributions to their schools and communities, but who are often overlooked by traditional student recognition programs. Recipients may have overcome difficult academic or personal challenges, modeled good citizenship, or exhibit a spirit and quiet strength that has inspired others despite disabilities, language barriers, or other significant challenges. This year's recipient of the Unsung Hero Award is Ash Connor. Ash moved here from New York City the summer before their junior year of high school. They experienced a tragic loss of a parent, moved to another state to live with their aunt, all while balancing the academic and social demands of a teenager. Ash encountered personal struggles during the transition and grievance period, but they never quit. They put every ounce of their being into seeking help, talking to others, and actively practicing coping techniques and strategies that work for them. Ash has been instrumental in resurrecting the GSA Club at BHS and was named co-leader of the club due to their undeniable commitment to the club and members involved. The advisors of the GSA described Ash as empathetic, resilient, and eager to educate others. At the cornerstone of all that, Ash has been incredibly brave to share their personal story while continuing to demonstrate their fierce persistence, determination, and grit. They are strong and self-aware, and they are truly coming into their own, exuding a newfound confidence in themselves and in their dreams for the future. We have observed Ash addressing challenges head-on with a mindful plan, and we have no doubt they'll continue to do so in the face of future adversity. We wholeheartedly believe that Ash will go forward to educate and advocate for others, and in turn continue to improve the culture and climate of wherever the future may take them. Ash will be attending Canisius College in the fall. We wish Ash congratulations. I don't believe they are present this evening, so we wish them the best of luck. Thank you.
All right, next up, we want to recognize our Board of Education student representatives who did an excellent job with their presentation tonight. I know Dr. Dempsey would like to thank them as well.
Hopefully they didn't leave. Come on up, come on up. So normally we get you guys something special that has not arrived yet. So you have to come in June again, okay? Because hopefully you'll be here by then. But in the meanwhile, we have flowers for you, so hang on. We're so grateful for your willingness. I know it's probably not the highlight of your week to come month after month, but certainly we always appreciate everything you share.
Thank you so much. And now we have some teacher recognitions. The Teacher of the Year is John Churn. I just texted Mr. Churn to say, are you coming to the meeting tonight? I thought you were coming. He goes, oh, that's tonight? I thought it was next week. I have a Zoom review session with my AP class right now. So I just want to say a couple words about Mr. Churn, who was selected as our Teacher of the Year this year. You've probably seen Mr. Churn around. He is at many sporting events, student events. He really is committed to this school. He's taught AP Statistics, AP Computer Principles, AP Computer Science, AP Calc BC. Not only is he a great teacher, he's a leader among the faculty. He's led us in kind of a move toward redos and retakes and having some more creative grading systems for our students. He also spearheaded the rotate and drop schedule about 5 to 7 years ago. He was the one who really started the committee to get to where we are now with our schedule. So he truly is a leader. He puts a lot into the school, and he was recognized this year for Teacher of the Year. So a hand for Mr. Churn for all that he does. And last but not least, we're recognizing our retirees. I'm just going to read the names of the folks who couldn't make it, and we can applaud them together, and then I'm going to speak to Mr. Trumpy in just a minute. But Kay Collins retired this year, Jeff Caswell, Dennis Babick, and Joe Folia. So just a quick round of applause for that group. I do want to take a minute to recognize Mr. Trumpy. Over the past 28 years, Fred Trumpy has built and sustained an outstanding band program here at BHS, his alma mater. Mr. Trumpy has taught just about every music class imaginable: music technology, music theory, orchestra, concert band, and jazz ensemble. He's also been the director of the marching band and musical pit band during his time here at BHS. Mr. Trumpy has taken our band students to trips to Disney World, where the band performs and our students make lifetime memories. Many do not know that Mr. Trumpy leads the band fundraiser each year through their holiday album to donate to the organization Give Kids the World, which provides cost-free wish vacations to critically ill children and their families. This fundraiser is symbolic of Mr. Trumpy's tenure here at Bernard's. He's one of the most kind, generous, and genuinely good-hearted people you will ever meet. I've been struggling to put into words how much Fred means to BHS, so I elicited some help from people much smarter and more talented than I am, the current jazz ensemble. Here are some excerpts from what they shared. Mr. Trumpy has been my favorite teacher all 4 years of high school. Because of him, music has become such a big part of my life. He has made such an impact on my life and my passion for music. I will always remember him for his kindness, humor, and how he made my high school experience so much more fulfilling. Then he provides a space where one can truly stretch their legs and push the boundaries of their musical abilities, and his importance cannot be understated. Another student shared, "Never have I found a teacher so passionate about their job and about music. He created an environment that inspired us to pursue and explore music in a way we weren't able to before." Another student shared, "Mr. Trumpy has opened a new world to me through his teaching. He has taught me countless things about not only music, but life as well. I know I speak for the whole band when I say he has brought us together and brought out the best in each and every person he has taught." And then the last one, "Mr. Trumpy is always there for his students, whether it be for questions about music or problems in life. He is there to offer advice and provide counsel. I feel as if a student can strike a conversation about anything, and he can pitch in about his life experiences both growing up and going through adulthood. He is truly an inspiration to us all, and as sad as it is that he is moving on, we, the class of 2022, are very happy that he's leading with us." As Mr. Trumpy's career at BHS comes to an end, he will be remembered not just for his impressive talents as a music teacher, but perhaps more importantly, for being an amazing person that impacted the lives of those around him. Thank you, Fred. Best of luck. Thank you very much. Congratulations to all the awards recipients tonight.
And thank you to all who came to present them. We're happy. Appreciate it. I know it's been a rough year. Thank you so much.
As everyone filters out, this is normally when Dr. Dempsey tells you if you have studying or sleep that you need to get to, and this is a great time. But as you filter out, I do want to just thank you all for coming. These are important times for us, and you bring to life the school and the work that we do up here. So I want to thank you all, and we obviously have tremendously talented students and staff, and we are very proud of that.
And that concludes the report of the superintendent.
Thank you, Dr. Dempsey. Okay. Public comments for actionable and agenda items. We very much welcome input from the public. Public comments are welcome at this time on any actionable agenda item. Towards the end of the meeting, there is a second public forum on any topic. Please state your name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, but an individual may speak a second time after all others who wish to speak on the topic have been heard. Please understand that our public forums are not structured as question and answer sessions, but are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. In instances where the board feels that there is a misunderstanding or inaccuracy, the board president or superintendent may address the comment. In accordance with New Jersey statute, the board will not discuss matters regarding specific personnel. Public comments will be limited to 30 minutes, and we appreciate your input. Mrs. DeMarco will be the timekeeper and hold up a sign when you have 30 seconds left. As always, we ask that you be respectful of all people providing input to the board.
Good evening. John Donahue, 16 South Street, and I'd like to address item 64A, reappointment of the superintendent. I respectfully ask the board to carefully consider the decision to renew the superintendent's contract, and ask yourselves, is she doing a proper job in light of our school standing when compared to the standings of schools in our surrounding towns? And I was here a couple of months ago. This is not a new concern, but it is something that's at the front of residents' minds. We hear it all the time when we talk about our schools. I really believe the board needs to consider that now is the time to ask for accountability. Leaders set priorities and provide organizational focus. And you have to ask yourselves, I think, has the current superintendent adequately focused on the job's most important charge, which is educational excellence? We lag our neighbors by a large margin, according to the Garden State rankings. I know, it is what it is. And other metrics too, like U.S. News, which I sort of went over a couple of meetings ago. And when confronted with these facts, I really think the administration rationalizes it away. But it's more relevant to the us in the in the community than they want to admit. And it's a reality that students, parents, and residents have to deal with. And I'll just summarize. This is from grade schools. I consider our peer group Chatham, Madison, Mendham, Ridge, and Harding. They have K through 8 now because they go to Madison High School. But in the high schools of those towns, their average rating on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best, is an 8. We're a 5. In the middle schools, although that peer group ranks an 8, we're a 6. In the elementary schools, that peer group also again ranks an 8, we're a 5. And just point contrast, in Basking Ridge, there's 4 elementary schools, and they rank collectively a 9, and one of them is a 10, which is like the top notch they get. And with all the positive things happening in this town, I really think this kind of stands in stark contrast to. So I ask the board to carefully consider these facts and weigh them heavily, and take the necessary action to reassert the board's leadership when setting district priorities and expect accountability for results. Our lagging standings compared to our neighbors not only affect our kids, but all of us with home equity. Because potential residents of this area who value educational excellence do not consider this a desirable place to live. This is a fact. We all have first-hand stories we can tell about this. So I'd ask you to demand accountability for these results, and the surest way to reprioritize the importance of academic standing and focus the whole organization on delivering academic excellence is to expect accountability. Thanks.
So thank you, Mr. Daniel, for your comments. We do want to make a clarification on the board agenda. That item is there only for the purpose of just having it on the agenda to note what the superintendent's salary is. She has a 5-year contract that exists and does not expire until June 30th, 2023. So there is no reappointment. It was mislabeled. There is no reappointment of the superintendent. The board is not voting on that. All it is basically a notification of what the salary that's already in the contract. So, just so that we're clear on that.
Hello, Steve Tobin, Ambar Place, Burnsville, New Jersey. And my questions are centered around the actionable items 64 and 65 on page 25. What does it mean when our kids were forced to wear masks when the fact that the survival rate for children with COVID-19 was 99.9995%? What does it mean when taxpayers they actually ask the Board of Education questions, but yet they're met with blank stares? What does it mean when schools instill gender confusion in the minds of our kids? What does it mean when taxpayers ask if CRT is being taught and the Board of Education president publicly denies it? Then taxpayers are told that DEI, which is synonymous with CRT, is being taught instead. What does it mean when the taxpayer public are afraid to attend the Board of Education meetings to express their ideas and feelings for fear of retribution upon their children? What does it mean when the Board of Education refuses to believe there are huge numbers of people who are irate that our schools are incorrectly taught that whites are inherently biased? What does it mean when you teach that people who are of color are victims and cannot succeed because of the color of their skin? The result is it takes away their incentive to thrive, I'm sorry. What does it mean when you believe and communicate to our children that they are racist when they in fact do not see color at all? It is the Board of Education that sees the color in our children. What does it mean when you send our administrators to racist workshops to later teach the teachers on how to be racist? In turn, they'll be teaching their students on how to be racist. What does it mean when you think that money is more important than our children? Because by accepting the ESSER funds, you have exchanged our children's well-being for coin. What does it mean when you deny the fact that our students' test scores are low and getting lower? What does all this mean? It means it's time for a change. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Okay, if there are no more public comments, I'd like to get a motion to close public comment. Are you speaking?
Mr. DeLuca, Timberbrook. I'd like to actually go a step further than the first gentleman who spoke. I'd actually
On what item are you speaking, sir?
general comments,
This is not a general comment section. This is actionable items only.
specifically related to the superintendent.
Just so that we're clear again, I just finished stating that that position is
I'd
not
like to
being
use my time,
reappointed.
please. Let me continue. So I would like to actually ask this board to ask for Gretchen's resignation immediately. And if she does not comply, I'd actually ask you to terminate her immediately. The last board meeting was a clear dereliction of duty and really shows the lack of understanding from the superintendent as well as some board members. We are in a failing school district. It has happened and transpired under Gretchen's leadership. The school is not performing well, and I've heard many board members countless times talk about how U.S. News and World Report shows that we're a performing school. GreatSchools.org is the only metric that matters. It is directly related to Realtor.com and Zillow. Our property taxes fund everything that we're in right now, and that's all that matters. And GreatSchools.org, say it with me, Bob, GreatSchools.org is the only one that matters. And we're failing. We're not doing a good job. And I demand immediate change. And I think it starts at the top. It starts with Gretchen and her leadership. We need to change this. We need to turn this school around. You know, she's made some moves recently, I think, that upset most of the teachers.
Excuse me, Mr. DeLuca, just one moment, just a second. I'll give you your time back. Please, we need to have decorum.
Thank you.
So whatever conversation is going on over there, please stop. Whatever conversation is going on over there, please stop.
So I would urge this board to take education seriously. Our children's futures depend on it. And I definitely think, due to some of the recent actions, really highlights the dereliction of duty that comes from Gretchen in her position. And to answer your point, she may have a contract, but as I understand it, the board can call that within a 60-day period and ask for her resignation. So I'd also ask the board to maybe provide the billables from the board attorney and what her current rates are. Is it a flat fee, or do we charge by the hour as she attends all these meetings? I'd like to understand that. Perhaps that could be made public knowledge. Maybe it's a line item in the budget, but certainly taxes are going up and the education and the performance is going down. We need a change, Bob. GreatSchools.org. Can you say it with me? GreatSchools.org. We are a 5 of 10 for Bedwell. That's terrible. We're doing a terrible job. North Brunswick, you mentioned North Brunswick last week too. North Brunswick's actually even lower than this school district. I would hope we'd want to maybe ascertain and perform to a higher level, not North Brunswick. Okay? GreatSchools.org, everybody. Let's see some change. Again, I ask the board immediate resignation for Gretchen and terminate her. Thank you. Oh, I got 30 seconds. All right, what else can we talk about? Let's talk about the sexual education curriculum that's going to be implemented into this school.
That's not an agenda item, thank you. We appreciate your input and you've been heard. That is not on the agenda.
30 seconds left.
It's not on the agenda.
On the agenda.
You mentioned it before.
I did.
Yeah, so we're talking about it.
We're not talking, no, that's not an item on the agenda.
About anal sex in third grade.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Thank you for your comments.
Anal sex in third grade. It's
Thank you for your
atrocious.
comments, Mr. DeLuca.
If there are no other public comments, can I have a motion to close public comments, please? Nicole, Sarah, thank you. Okay, we need to approve minutes. Can I have a motion to approve minutes? Sam, and second by Nicole. Roll call? Any discussion on that? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clark Emery?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper? Yes. Mrs. Frenda?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Ms. Nathans?
Yes, for April 27th, I need to abstain from May 3rd since I was not in attendance.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Mrs. Rye?
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, organizational action items.
Yes, Heather. Oh my gosh, that's loud. I'd like to move items 1 through 68 with the removal of item number 64A and including the items on the addendum. Can I get a second? Any discussion?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clark Emery?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Ms. Nathans?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Mrs. Rye?
Yes.
And Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, finance?
Yes, the Finance Committee did not meet in the last 2 weeks, which is a first for a while. We worked hard on the budget the last time, and there wasn't anything pressing we needed to discuss. So I want to move action items 1 through 17. Well, one of them 17's on the addendum. Do I have a second? Thank you. I just want to highlight that we are approving a contractor to get our new phone system installed, which has been archaic and caused a lot of trouble. That will happen over the summer, correct? And we also are showing what each town needs to pay us every month based on what the budget is. So that's what those tables are. They pay us on a monthly basis. And you also notice that our lunch prices are going up. So those are the key items that we're approving tonight. The rest are fairly perfunctory for the month. So does anybody have any questions on the 17 items? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clark Emery?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Ms. Nathans?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Mrs. Rye?
Yes.
And Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Facilities operations, please.
Good evening. Facilities and operations met on May 4th for about 2 hours, and the beginning of our meeting for approximately an hour was about a facilities tour at the high school. Our tour was comprehensive. We began in the media center. The furniture in the balcony, if you get a chance to go up there and look, invites both conversation and collaboration. Then, in no particular order, we viewed a senior eating area with high-top tables overlooking an interior patio, photo and video lab classrooms, both of which have been updated to suit expanded curriculum requirements, a fully equipped wood shop, art rooms with kilns, engineering classrooms with computers, with CAD materials and 3D printers. I have to say, a beautifully merchandised school store and classrooms associated with students in the process of mastering life and career skills. We were also in the vocal instrumental music rooms, which are beautiful learning spaces, one of which included a lab specifically for crafting music compositions. A real highlight of the tour, and I did put a hot link in the report, so I
hope you were able to click through to it, was a classroom outfitted with steel case classroom furniture, which was purchased through the auspices of a grant written by one of the high school teachers. That room was amazing. It's a model of inviting, collaborative instructional space. All in all, the high school is and continues to be an inviting, evolving, and welcoming place for engaged, active learners, both within and beyond the classroom. We discussed later in our meeting about facility rental. We discussed approving rental of our facilities to outside organizations that do not involve youth in the community. As the policy and fee structure for such rentals has changed since our last rental of the space, it was decided to consult the board attorney before making a determination on these types of requests. So we decided not to take any action on it. We received from Dr. Dempsey the condition of the reaffirmation which began in January. It's about to wrap up. There is a small percent of families who have not responded to residency reaffirmation requests. A notice will be sent out to these families via alert and letter, and if the families do not respond, appropriate action will be taken. In terms of community relations from an F&O perspective, we again revisited the BHS start time. It was decided that after the opening of school in September, and when we see how the buses are running and how the day is turning out, and if everything is running very well, then we will attempt to see if that 5-minute time differential will work district-wide. And I know that everyone on the board is very happy to hear that. As I said last meeting, if I can make this happen, it will happen. I'm along with the other people that will make it happen. So I'd like to move action items 1 through 3. Do I have a second? Mrs. Tober, is there any discussion? May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clark Emery?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Ms. Nathans?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Mrs. Rye?
Yes.
And Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Nicole, curriculum, please.
The curriculum committee did not meet last week, but I did want to provide an update on our discussions related to the 2020 health standards. We just heard Ms. Gutierrez talk, sorry about that, on the process by which standards are developed, and tomorrow many of us will be attending the Somerset County New Jersey School Board Association meeting, at which our New Jersey School Board representative, Gwen Thornton, will be presenting on the topic of health standards. Gwen will also be attending our curriculum meeting in June to provide a similar presentation to our committee. If the committee decides it's appropriate, we'll invite her to present to the entire board at our next public meeting. Regarding next steps, in mid-August, we'll be reviewing the district's prepared updates to the health curriculum, as well as the process by which parents may opt out if they choose to do so. Dr. Dempsey is working with the board to identify the best mechanism to deliver this information to the public. This information will likely be delivered in August. And so with that, I'd like to move items 1 and 2 on the agenda and item 2 on the addendum. Any discussion? Oh, sorry. Second, sorry. Got it, okay. Any discussion? No? Roll call?
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clark Emery?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Ms. Nathans?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Mrs. Rye?
Yes.
And Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Personnel, please.
My public speaking skills are being used this evening. Mrs. Deron probably couldn't be with us this evening. She conducted the meeting on May the 5th, and the length of the meeting was 1 hour and 15 minutes. All board members on the committee were in attendance, as well as Drs. Dempsey and Butler. I'm looking to look at what I wrote. Updated, okay. Oh gosh, I know I wrote it down here somewhere, but personnel matters were discussed. I'd like to move action items 1 through 20 on the agenda. Do I have a second? 1 through 9? I thought it was 1 through 20, sorry, 1 through 9, my apologies. May I have a second, please? Discussion? May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clark Emery?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper? Mrs. Frenda?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Ms. Nathans?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Mrs. Rye?
Yes.
And Mrs. Santoro? Motion carries.
Okay, policy, Pat.
We were in discussion during this meeting, again, this hour and 15-minute meeting. There was a continuing discussion of the bylaws. In addition, the policies that are in second reading, we have 3 from last month, P9 560, P3 421.13, and P4 421.13. So those are in second reading. And the policies and regulations from Alert 227 were reviewed in first reading. That includes P164814, P164815, P1641.01, P2417, P5512, and P9320 and R9320. And those, as I said, all came from Alert 227, and those are, I believe, mandated policies. So I would like to move action items numbers 1 and 2. Do I have a second? Mrs. Tober, is there any discussion? May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clark Emery?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper? Mrs. Frenda?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Ms. Nathans?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Mrs. Rye?
Yes.
And Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Supplementary matters. Does any board members have supplementary matters this evening? Okay, public comments. Public comments are welcome at this time on any topic. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address. Thank you for your input.
Kathy DeLuca, PPAC Gladstone. Legitimate concerns surrounding the sexual education program that to be implemented in 2nd, 5th, and 8th grades this September need to be addressed now, not when families are on summer vacation and unaware. It is not appropriate for innocent 7-year-olds to be taught detailed anatomy, sexual details, and then be guided to question their gender. Learning guides for NJ teachers are available should you need them. The guides include instruction for all parts of male and female genitalia, like clitoris, sperm. This is 2nd grade I'm talking about. How babies are made and how they exit a woman's body. I'm a nurse, anatomy does not embarrass me, but it is a little awkward saying these words here. Imagine how the students and teachers are going to feel. In addition to the sexual part, Children may be asked questions about their families and to question their own gender, which will lead to confusion where none exists. What happened to religious freedom and parental discretion? These conversations do not belong in the classroom. Sexual orientation is a very intimate and delicate subject for all ages and should be handled only by loving parents who know and understand their kids, or private therapists need be. Parents, the most influential people in a child's life, should be the only ones handling this, not government schools. We're told we can opt out, but that's not good enough. Parents want an opt-in option. Is it your right to close the door on the option? You can look into exceptions. The statutes the lawyer spoke of are from the early 90s. The world is very different now. The school board's purpose here is to oversee the management of the district and represent the interest of the parents and residents. You'll say you need to abide by the legislation, but in light of the strong opposition, because as someone mentioned before, so many people are not here because they're not comfortable, they're afraid. Anyway, I urge the board to find ways to work around this very inappropriate legislation so that government schools do not put our kids at risk. This is a controversial hot-button issue and not part of a normal process for this age group. It's not the normal thing to have this going in the curriculum every year, and it shouldn't be treated as such. Parents have a right to know what and how exactly their children are being taught. Now, not in August. They send their kids to school to learn math, reading, critical thinking, not to generate confusion where none exists. Stop trying to introduce our kids to subjects they are not emotionally ready for. School should never be intended for this purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Belinda.
Okay, Sama Habibi, 8 Mosley Road, Gladstone. First of all, government schools, no, it's called a public school, so let's clarify that. I've been coming to these Board of Education meetings for about 8 or 9 years, and the only other person who's done the same is Bob Baker. During this time, I have rarely seen Board of Education members abstain from making yes or no votes. This year, 3 members off this board, 2 representing Bernardsville, 1 representing Far Hills, have abstained on several votes. The community votes in BOE members to make decisions on behalf of our kids and schools. Sometimes these decisions are not easy ones. For the residents of Bernardsville and Far Hills, so far the members you voted in are not working for you. They are avoiding issues by abstaining. In regards to the ongoing debate, well, I don't think it's a debate, about health standards, the topics related to human sexuality, I have asked my 2 kids if they've noticed students missing from their health classes and was told that no kids have been missing. I understand these are only 2 classes, one at the middle school, one at the high school. But for me, this shows that parents are not opting their kids out of health classes. In fact, most parents that I speak to have spoken actively have spoken to actively discuss these topics with their kids at home. If you choose to shelter your kids from important topics in this age of smartphones and internet and near universal access to pornography, then just opt them out and leave the rest of us out of your shielded world.
Thank you for your comment. Sama.
Good evening, I'm Barbara Long from Lloyd Road. Several of us here are here to identify our concerns with your decisions. American culture is embattled. Education is now the weapon. Our schools are the battlefield. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the great movement for change by Martin Luther King represent the American culture. Our Board of Ed seems to represent a force for changing, using children's sexuality and racial identity as the mechanism. Why are you not using academic excellence? Think about it. Why are you not using academic excellence? There has been little or no transparency in sharing your ideas with the community. There are problems.
Thank you for your input.
Bob Weibel, Farm Cottage Road, Gladstone. So I've started attending the meetings back in July of last year, and I haven't been to all of them. I've watched most of them online. And I gotta say, the meeting last week on the hiring of the principal was probably the most confusing meeting. After watching it live, I had to watch it 2 more times. Why? There was like 3 different explanations that were given as to the hiring process, which is fine. I mean, I know we're not allowed to question how a board, personal matters, hiring matters, or anything like that, but it seemed to be 3 different positions, and there were 2 members that had raised that and said, how was this person brought in? And I didn't understand, so a couple of things that confused me is, and this, by the way, this was approximately 1 hour and 35 minutes into the meeting this discussion started, is that usually there's somebody from that school chosen, and then 2 exterior in the final round. I know there's a lot of people who submit their applications, I understand that part of it. But then there was a typo, as we found out, that the Bedwell Elementary student teacher that was chosen in the final 3 wasn't a Bedwell Elementary teacher anymore. She was a Somerset Hill School District teacher, whatever that means. I mean, I guess she's at the high school or the middle school. The other thing that was said was that the person that's leaving can't hire their replacement. That's fine. I get that part of it too, especially since it was stated they both work so closely together. So out of 168 elementary school teachers, out of at least 2 other vice principals that we have at the middle school and high school, somehow we ended up with 2 exterior people, which that I understand is, I guess, part of the protocol, and then 1 interior person. And it was questioned, was anybody else considered from the administration? There's really not a clear answer that was given to that. So I'm just, if you want to answer that, that's fine. I mean, that's great. I'm just saying I was a little bit confused by that. And then the other thing that was kind of interesting, it was item 8 on page 11, which identified improvements to the hiring process, which I find that kind of amusing. This is back in the April meeting, that was a agenda item where there seemed to be some confusion on how exactly we hired. Again, there was like 3 different positions that were given on that. So I don't know what that means. Maybe we're looking for a little bit more diversity in the school, which is great. I think that's phenomenal. We do want to do that. But are they based on merit, or are they based on goals that maybe, some of the administrators may get, bonuses for this? I know in the private industry that this is prevalent, to have minorities and stuff like that to either get contracts or be hired. And I just was wondering if that was part and parcel of maybe the decision process here. Thank you.
Thank you for your input.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Shepard, 16 Amber Place, Bernardsville, and you probably recognize me. I've been at almost every meeting this school year. You may remember me from this past fall. I feel safe in saying I'm the first citizen to say the words oral, anal, and vaginal sex in the hallowed halls of the Somerset Hills Board of Education meetings. Things will be changing when school begins in September. Our 8th graders will become familiar with these 3 forms of sex, along with a whole bunch more this coming fall if the board has its way. Of course, it's within the board's purview to decline to put on the shoulders of our children any of this sexed up indoctrination. You parents will not have to come home and hear the different kinds of sex being taught you by your child's beloved teachers. Meanwhile, back at school, our younger children will be busy figuring out what LGBTQIA means so that they don't insult a fellow classmate by incorrectly assuming they know their fellow classmate's sexual identity along with their correct pronouns. I call myself a woman, but this is not entirely acceptable. I've been told I will be identified as a binary if I don't declare myself as anything but simply woman. Schools will be training the culture of our children to expect more than simply a name. They'll be looking for sexual identity in order not to accidentally slander an LGBTQIA with the wrong word or pronoun. There's a lot to learn when you come into school after a language summer off. Who knew it would be our board's form of sexual torture that kids would have to contend within the early hazy days of fall? Frankly, I think of the word binary as something akin to mathematics, not sex. You learn something new every day. There will come the day when your originally confused children will be graduating from the Bernardsville school system after 12 years of dogma being thrown at them regarding their sexual identity. They will be expected to be somewhat confused about who they are sexually, but they'll probably want to be just like their favorite classmates. Time passes, our graduating children will be heading off to a not the best college, coming from a school with a ranking of ours. If they're lucky, they'll not make it into one of the Ivies. That's indoctrination central for the liberal progressive way of doing things that loosely veils socialism. Picture our little Bedwell kindergarten student, now familiarized with the buzzwords, bells, and whistles required to navigate higher education. Eventually, our children will be educated and out in the world looking for work. Hallelujah! Our child has a big interview with a company dreams are made from. Who knows? Apple, Amazon? The potential boss is looking through our child's CV and notices something that is potentially worrisome.
Excuse me.
Great CV.
Thank you for your comment. Your time is up. We appreciate you.
Well, I'll come back and finish.
You may come and speak a second time after everybody else has spoken. Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Christine Zamara, 28 Anderson Hill Road. I'd just like to bring something up that occurred, which was a mailer that came to my home prior to the election of school board members. The mailer was for a member who sits on this board currently, and it included the verbiage that some of the others have brought up, anal, oral, vaginal sex. And what I'd like to just bring up is the fact that you're sending these to people's homes, and children are going to see this. I, myself, have 3 children. And I choose to send my children to Catholic school, and I don't want them to be reading certain things that come in the mail, perhaps. So you might want to consider that before you're sending mailers to people's homes. What words you put on there. So you talk about sheltering people and opting in and all that. I want my kids to learn that, but maybe not everyone does. So should you be mailing that to people's homes? On a postcard? It wasn't in an envelope. It was out there on the kitchen counter. So just be mindful of that, and please, know your neighbors and know that your neighbors may not or may want to see that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, John Donahue, 16 South Street. I just wanted to sort of drive home the point that I want to make sure you understand that these great school rankings, this is a big deal. This is a bottom line issue to a lot of us who have home equity loans. And like it or not, you can go back into your ivory towers and say they're not accurate, but people look at them and they make financial decisions on them, and it affects all of us. And we're not just missing the mark. We're like several standard deviations away from our peer group. I consider our peer group, So I think that needs to be made more front and center. Every decision you make should be about how to boost these, or have the curiosity as to why we're so low, and have to be transparent about exploring it. I mean, it's a question that we don't know the answer to. And speaking of transparency, and on the whole sex thing, I understand the state's telling you giving you, I guess, a body of curriculum, or material you have to develop a curriculum around. And, I've been in a position where I understand I don't often have a choice, but I'll tell you a personal anecdote. There's a big trust gap between the administration and the public, because we don't think about this stuff day to day, especially the sex stuff. And my son went through the health thing this year, and we explicitly said in writing to the middle school administration last year, we don't want him doing it. But the opt-out was buried in the Friday folder. So, and it's going to get worse next year with the material that we're trying to push. So what you have to do to sort of bridge this trust gap is have a very public, and not like in August, a very public, maybe single-purpose meeting. Talk about what, the word is approached a little bit tonight about what, the state's telling you to do, what your obligation is to do, and, how you're going to address it, but publicly do it. Because, a lot of us feel like, and it's not your motive, I'm sure, most of the time, but the perception is you're trying to slide things underneath, bury it in the agenda, talk about it in committee, don't bring it up. And that creates this whole distrust cycle, and you got to overcome that. That's a big deal. So that's my 2 cents.
We appreciate your input. I would like to note that we do discuss this in our public meetings every month in curriculum, and Nicole has presented what we will be talking about going forward. But we do appreciate your input. Thank you.
These important issues, some of it's mundane, but these things that you know that it's going to strike a chord, and it's got to be made public. You get in front of it. Don't be
Appreciate your input.
So again, want to echo again, greatschools.org, Bob.
Please state your name and address. Thank you.
Mr. DeLuca, Timberbrook. So greatschools.org is all that matters. And, someone just mentioned we should have yes or no votes. I certainly would urge this board to, again, have a yes or no vote on the future employment of Gretchen in her position as the superintendent, because as greatschools.org shows, the school districts, Bedwell, the middle school and the high school, are not doing well. And our taxes are funding them, and it needs to be changed. We cannot wait until August to see what the curriculum is going to be for the sexual education. I also think we should probably have a yes or no vote on who thinks we should be teaching oral, anal, sex to young children. I think we should know where our board members stand on such hot-button topics as this. Bob, do you remember learning about oral and anal in school? Did they teach that in North Brunswick, oral and anal? We need to know. We need to know as our school board stands on these positions, because it is important to parents. And also, the parents that do opt out, parents, not stakeholders, remember, parents, what are the children going to be doing when they opt out? Are they going to be sitting there twiddling their thumbs? Can we focus more on arithmetic, reading, writing? Because as we know, greatschools.org says the school district's not doing well. So we need to understand what that is. Can any one of you answer tonight, children that are currently opting out of the sexual curriculum act, what are they doing? How are they learning? How are you expanding their minds? Because it's important, because it's not showing up in the results anywhere. Can we have a vote on that tonight? Is that possible? Can anyone answer me? The topics I just mentioned. Anybody want to take a shot at it?
There's no item on the agenda for that, sir.
Can we put it on next month's agenda?
No.
Why?
Because the agenda is set by the superintendent and by the board.
So the person that we're asking to terminate sets the agenda, is that what you're saying?
I'm not having a back and forth.
Why? Why would you have a back and forth? That's a great point.
I did answer the question already.
So you're just shutting the public down.
I'm not shutting
I'm
anyone
calling
down.
for this board to hold a vote about the future employment of Gretchen. The school is failing. We need to do something about it.
I have already explained to you what the situation is with the contract of employment, and that's
True or false? Can it be terminated in 60 days by a vote from the board?
False.
That's false?
That is false.
So there's nothing this board can do if they determine that she's not qualified nor competent to have this position as superintendent. She could just stay in her role for the next 5 years because that's what her contract says.
You're welcome to get a copy of the superintendent's employment contract, sir, and you can read it.
How much time do I have left? 30 seconds. I would urge this board to reevaluate the contract. It's serious. If that's the position that we're in, who signed that contract? That doesn't sound good. We need to take a serious look at the performance of this school. Bob, what is it again? Greatschools.org. It's the only one that matters. Our taxes fund everything in this building. It needs to change. Greatschools.org.
Thank you for your time and input.
God bless America.
I don't think anybody else is speaking, so I will continue. I'm going to go back a little ways so I can keep up with the continuity. Okay, so time passes, our graduating children will be headed off to a not the best college coming from a school with a ranking of ours. If they're lucky, they will not make it into one of the Ivies. That's indoctrination central for the liberal progressive way of doing things that loosely veils socialism. Picture our little Bedwell Gardens kindergarten student, now familiarized with the buzzwords, bells and whistles, required to navigate higher education. Eventually, our child will be educated and out in the world looking for work. Hallelujah! Our child has a big interview with a company dreams are made from. Who knows? Apple, Amazon? The potential boss is looking through our child's CV and notices something that is potentially worrisome. Great CV I'm looking at, kid. However, I see you had a lot of trouble assigning yourselves a gender, and this problem went on for a number of years. I got to tell you, the candidate walking out as you walked in is equally as qualified as you, but with one huge difference. There was no equivocating on his part with his gender throughout his schooling. All things being equal, except for the sex identity, I'm going to have to pass you by. Good luck, kid. Thanks.
Thank you for your feedback. If there are no other public comments.
So, around the hour and 11 minute
Please
mark.
state your name.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Drew Gladstone. Weibel is the last name. Around the hour and 11 minute discussion started on this topic that seems to be coming up again and again about the, health and physical ed coming up next year. I'm not going to go into some of the things that have already been said before because mine's a little bit different approach about it. So about 1:15 into it, one of the board members talked about teachers have a good understanding of our students, which they probably do, but I do as well. And the way that remark was made was like, okay, teachers only have an understanding of it. While that board member just said before, the board here is developing age and developmentally appropriate and that reflect values of our entire community. So the entire community should include the parents as well. So I found that those remarks kind of be in contrast with each other. The other thing I found interesting was Dr. Dempsey said that they're going to have, and this is, I'm quoting directly, sensitive material package in a more discreet manner. So this was when we were describing how we're going to get this out to the parents, the curriculum, how we're going to describe it over the summer. I'm glad to hear that we're actually going to do that, Ms. Cooper. I heard you say that we're going to have to talk about it in June and August. The other thing is, there was a sort of dismissive remark that was made that there's not that many changes in this thing, there's not that many. Well, I went through it, and this is, you can find these on summaries of the Board of Ed sites and stuff like that. In the second grade, there's 9 changes. Now, some of them are just simple word changes, but what was significant is there's 7 huge additions to it. From 2014 to 2020, the 4th and 6th grade now became 5th grade, and there were 7 changes. 8th grade had 10 changes. 12th grade had 14 changes. That's a lot of changes. I know it's a 66-page document because I actually did read through the current version of it. I went through the red lines of what's going to be added into the next one. So I think we do need to have our parents a little bit more involved. And why do I know that? Well, in April of 2022, the New Jersey School Boards Association, and I quote from them directly, and this was in response to some of the media hype that's come up from the discussion of this curriculum. In fact, state regulations required to encourage feedback from the community as per NJAC 68:8-3.1, which states, district boards of education shall encourage the active involvement of representatives from the community, business, industry, labor, and higher education in the development of educational programs aligned with the NJSLS. So here we are going to start doing that. We're going to start having more discussions about in the June, July, August meetings. But is that going to give really enough time? And I know there's only a few parents out here right now. We don't know how many's watching right now online, but I don't know that's going to be enough time. And I'm not going to go and say I'm totally against it, but I don't know what's there for me to be in favor of it. And I think what this board needs to do is really start having the parents involved with it. And there's a regulation that says you do need to have the parents involved with it, and industry leaders and labor people. And I know you're going to bring in somebody from the outside, so it's an industry leader that's going to talk about the curriculum. I will say this, I do know that Randolph already decided to have this discussion.
Mr. Weber, your time is up, if you can wrap up. Okay, thank you for your input, we appreciate it.
Barbara Long, Lloyd Road. I don't know if I misunderstood, but I thought that I heard you when you were making comments to John Donahue, that you said that your curriculum meetings were open.
We have our committee meetings and we have a curriculum report every month in our public meeting.
So you don't have, I misunderstood that. I thought you had said there was curriculum discussion.
Every month, our chair of curriculum reports out on what was discussed in committee, and then the board is able to have discussion.
So there's nothing that you do to make it open to parents or concerned grandparents, etc.
We provide public comment at our public meeting, and all of our emails are available online as well as our administration.
And what do your emails reference? You said your emails are available online?
Our email addresses are available online for input from the public.
Well, you told us a few months ago at the meeting that you were not accepting emails from the public.
There's some confusion here. No, during
here, I heard it.
Okay, I'll just take a moment to explain because I think there's some confusion. We are not during COVID, when we returned to in-person meetings, we made available an option for the public to send us public comment to Mrs. DeMarco to be read at the meeting for people who may not want to come to the public meeting. We stopped accepting those because we are back in person fully. And our email addresses are still listed on the website. We still accept email as board members. That was specific for public comment due to the pandemic and having virtual meetings and then hybrid meetings.
So that if I had a comment like tonight and I wanted to know what curriculum discussion was going on, if I could, participate in it, if I emailed that to you, that's public comment, right?
No, that's just input to the board members, communication.
I think it's difficult to differentiate in between what you feel is public comment and what we feel is important information.
The public comment that we were accepting due to the pandemic had an address called public@shsd.org. That address has been turned off because now we're doing live meetings, but the website has all the board members. If you click on their name, you're able to send them communication via email. That's what we're talking about.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
So again, just some of the questions that we've asked, are we going to get answers to them, like what children are doing when they opt out? Is anyone going to provide us that?
Sir, as I state every week, every month, this is not a question and answer session. This is your time to provide input to the board that we take in.
Where do I get answers from that?
I just went through the various ways that you can contact us.
Email. Other thing I'd like to know about, for the parents that do opt out of this curriculum, how can they be certain that any of the textbooks don't contain this material? Advanced topics as oral and anal sex. For example, what if there's a math book? Shannon has had anal sex 5 times this week, which is 4 times less than last week. Math problems that, promulgate topics like this. How can parents be certain that topics of oral, anal, vaginal, missionary, whatever it might be, sexual topics like this are not going to be included in their textbooks? We don't know. It's something for you guys to think about. Public comments, right? I'm urging the board to think about things like that because it's important, right? So we want to know what the students are doing when they're opting out of these, and we want to know if it's included in any of the existing or new textbooks. I see some head nodding, right? We know it could be there. It's important. So, again, I urge this board to take a vote. Stand where your positions are. I want to know if you're comfortable with teaching second graders, first graders, third graders, topics like anal sex, oral sex. I'd like to see the hands. Anybody want to raise their hands? Nobody? Does anybody here support teaching children anal or oral sex? Board members.
Mr. DeLuca?
I don't see any board members raising their hands.
Mr. DeLuca?
So that tells me that
public comment is not a time for you to ask the board questions on how to vote.
It's public comment.
Your input, we appreciate it.
You don't have to answer.
Okay.
But I'd like to see your hands. So by a lack of show of hands, it doesn't seem that anyone supports these topics. Don't raise your hand if you want to fire Gretchen. I think we have a unanimous decision here. 30 seconds left. Again, we cannot wait any longer to have a clear indication of what this curriculum is going to be. Parents want to know what their kids are going to be doing. It's important. I urge this board to act, represent the public. Bottom line decisions, Bob, gradeschools.org. Taxes aren't getting any lower and the school numbers are going down. That's a problem. Thank you for your time.
Your input has been heard. If there's no other public comment, can I have a motion to close public comment? Pat, Nicole, I would thank my board members for remaining professional and doing your jobs diligently this evening. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Thank you.